Welcome to week number 2 here at the Snap Judgements League. For those who do not know, my name is Guest, also known as ItsGuestGaming, and we are live reaction casting the matches from week 2. Now, here's the thing. Pulse and the whole team over there, Gunny and everybody, have done an absolutely stellar job of recruiting people together to put these games up so we can cast them live. And because of a mixture of both personal interest as well as life, I haven't seen anything at all. I don't know the results of any matches, and I never do any single week. So for me, it's a surprise. You might know. You may have seen one of the videos over on Snap Judgments. You may know some of this. I don't, which is so much more fun. So if you would like to have your game cast, if you're a part of the Snap Judgments League, go ahead and contact Pulse Glazer to get access to the drive, where we will be able to go ahead and use that video here for a live casting. If you want to put up both perspectives, that's even better for other content that we're also producing for the Snap Judgments League. So if you have both points of view, believe me, you're going to see that in other content. Stay tuned for the future. Now, in regards to what's happening today, here's how this is going to work. They're going to play Snap. We're going to react and have a damn good time, because casting Snap is one of my absolute favorite things to do in all of content creation. So they came up with this opportunity for me, and I said, why the hell not? Why would I not want to do this? So I know there's a giant list of people here. And when I first came into this, I thought that maybe I do only 6 per day, per big event like this for the Snap Judgments League. The request demand is so insane, we're probably going to have to do more than that. So stick around. We've got a lot of casting here, and I never know what I'm going to pick until I pick it, because I'm looking at a giant list of games. So never take it personally, please, everybody. So let's go ahead. Let's look for... You know what? I'm going to support one guy right off the bat, only because he's one of the nicest guys in Snap. I have worked with this person directly. I just noticed who they're also facing, which is fantastic. I've worked with this person directly. Incredibly kind soul, and you definitely know him. You definitely know him, in my opinion. I'm gonna start us off here with Drewberry. Drewberry versus GingerPrime. That's where I want to start today, because Drewberry is just an unbelievably amazing dude. If you're not following him on YouTube, you absolutely need to be. So let's make all the videos and the pretty things happen. Let's frame this bad boy up and get the first video for today's Snap Judgments League off and running. GingerPrime versus Drewberry. Let's go. You know, why not? Let's see what happens here. Let's make sure I have everything all nice and kind of sort of prettied. And yeah, it's in the center. It looks like it. Okay, there we go. Where's the bracket? I have no idea. It's probably in the Discord. So the link I don't have available to me, but I know that somebody is about to send it to me on the back end because they love me. So here we go. GingerPrime versus Drewberry for the Snap Judgments League week number 2. Let's go. We have a Corvus Hella Knight deck on GingerPrime's side, but we don't know what Drewberry is playing quite yet. Going into the raft with the blade to get that Magneto out of the way right off the bat. I'm okay with this. Here we go. 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 Sakaar. Man, if Sakaar can hit that Ghost Rider right here in the very beginning, that's going to be a huge start for GingerPrime. They can't do anything, so that's absolutely fine. Drops it on down. They're going to be playing in a Nebula, which is a smart play because of the recast, guaranteeing that there's already going to be 1 slot in there. The Cosmo comes down, though, and it pulls the She-Hulk. So even though point advantage leans on the side of GingerPrime, that Cosmo in particular is a really big play. They're going to be able to fill up the raft on the next turn, whether they bring back the Death or they bring back the Magneto. And honestly, probably bringing back the Magneto is the best possible case here, because they can slide that Cosmo over. That's fantastic. There goes the Death. Disappears. Goblin comes on down, flips over to the other side of the white hot room, as now we see the Ghost Rider probably coming on down next. They're pointing to Cosmo. They know it's going to move it over. Thank you so much, chat. See, look at that. Gunny right there in the chat live with us here on Twitch, putting up those brackets. You ask and you shall receive. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Gunny. And instead he's going the opposite direction. Instead of taking the free card, he's going for the energy in the white hot room at the potential of sliding that Cosmo over and just maintaining a lead, because it's going to give them the point advantage over in the white hot room, most likely to go over that damage from Green Goblin. Are you going to lock it in with a snap? They do. Oh, they do. And a snap back. Drewberry not even messing around. Right off the bat, we're going for an 8-cuber. First game. Here it goes. Ghost Rider comes on down, brings back that death. Cosmo stays exactly where it is, and the Attuma is saying hello. The game ain't over yet, son. Now, you're sitting on an Infinite in your hand. You can't get the Raft in any way, shape, or form. Do you restrict the Nebula by playing down the Black Knight and look for a good top deck? Maybe you pull that Hela. Or, because no matter what, you have 4 hits left in the deck at the current moment. You can see just barely underneath me here, one of them being Cull Obsidian, the other one being Hela. They let it go. Professor X locks down the Sakaar, and that's going to guarantee 1 lane for Drewberry right off the bat. He's feeling incredibly confident with just an Attuma in the lane of White Hot Room and no priority. Could we be looking at Shang-Chi followed by Armor? Because that would be the play of all plays right now. Typically in these lockdown Professor X decks, you do see an Armor come in, but if they're feeling good leaving Tuma all alone, normally that means they're going to play an Armor on top of it. Ooh. That, if I had to make a call, that's what I would be getting besting right now. Does GingerPrime think that that Infinite is going to be enough if there is a Shang-Chi to come on down, which destroys the Attuma if there isn't an Armor? And Ginger holds. Ginger locks it in. Here it comes. There's the 2 cards in the White Hot Room. The Infinite flips over, and it is Shang-Chi followed by Armor. I called it. Called it perfect for 8 cubes. GingerPrime has to win 5 in a row over the legendary Drewberry in match number 1. Match number 1 is an 8-cuber. I swear to God on my kids, I had no idea this was coming in like this. What a great way to start us off with a big 8-cube win for Drewberry as we head into round 2 with the Baxter building. Woo-wee. Okay, now you really gotta lock that in, Ginger. What are we doing? What are we doing, man? All right. The blade would guarantee a death. So 412 never feels bad. You can high roll it on that Hela, and he's taking the high roll. Ginger's taking a high roll, hoping it hits either Cull or Death first. Pops the blade then into the hand after. What does it hit first? It hits the Hela, because it always does. It always hits the Hela. And the blade! No! When you're down 8 cubes, you gotta high roll. And man, does it feel awful when it doesn't hit just right. Now, you've also got to decide, because they just waved. You know they play Professor X. You have Prio. Maybe locking in the Baxter building just in case? Yeah, that death is too tempting to not. Not going to get any better than that for the death. It looks like he's thinking potentially the same thing. They're looking for a cheat out. They put the death into the middle and the destroyer to just demolish the entire board. 16's pretty tall to come over, but when you're sitting on a 10, that can plop into that lane, plus a Ghost Rider to boot to bring back potentially Hela, which would then also bring back a Blade on top. And they say no. They say no. Ginger down 10-1. We have seen crazier comebacks. We have seen crazier comebacks. Or is Drewberry going to clean sweep the Prime? As you're sitting right off the bat with a Blade into Infinite and a Ghost Rider in your hand, this is a great way to feel like, okay, maybe I can get some momentum here. Maybe I can get some momentum here. You've got the option of the Hela to bring it back. You've got the option of the Ghost Rider to bring it back. You could potentially think about that Lady Sif into Hela, because no matter what, Ghost Rider would bring back either Hela, which would also hit the Infinite, or it just brings back the Infinite. And I like that they're thinking about it. Seeing the same, it's a 50-50 winner-winner chicken dinner moment. No matter what, Infinite's coming back, and that's what you're trying to revive more than anything else. So take the advantage. Playing out the Black Knight maybe just for a little bit of extra perk damage. Play it safe. Yeah, maybe. Play it safe, because you do have the Sacred Timeline there as a potential benefit, but you don't know where Starlit Citadel is going to make it all go. There it goes. And it's 2 into the Time Theater, and oh man, Sacred Timeline 2 for Drew on top. Oh, noes. We know they're rocking a Shang-Chi. So now we got to look at if they're rocking a Shang-Chi. What's the draw here that Ginger needs right now? The Corvus does nothing. The She-Hulk feels really good. Cull Obsidian even might work because you could play it into the Blade lane. But you've really just got to play around Shang-Chi more than anything else. The Destroyer, I don't see as a potential option if they're putting down 2 Jeffs. They could be also duping their hand by going for a fill of the Sacred Timeline, because we know they run a bunch of cheap cards. We know they run Nebula, Armor, obviously Jeff is already in there, Green Goblin, Cosmo. They don't go for the fill. We flip over the Black Knight and the Sunspot as Professor X locks down that lane, and they end up with the She-Hulk, which is a huge pull right here. The She-Hulk is a huge pull because they can drop down that She-Hulk for 10, save 3 power, allow the Sunspot to grow to 8, and that's all 3 lanes currently secured. Drewberry being in the back end of this means that he can Shang-Chi that She-Hulk, but it's not a very strong play if they assume anything is being dropped into the Starlit Citadel. So on one end, you could sacrifice the Sacred Timeline entirely, knowing that both Jeffs are eligible to move. Or you could just hope for the best and assume they're playing another 6-coster, because we know that they're playing a Death, we know that they're playing Magneto, we know that they're playing other big cards in this deck. And Drew says it's not worth it, and backs away. That's the first cube off, 9-1, going around number 4. Hotel Inferno to hit the Death right off the bat. He's got to feel good. What does it destroy? Because Nebula comes in, hits the Black Knight, and Blade hits the Jeff. Bye-bye, Jeff. Jeff has been harpooned. Ooh. I mean, there's no loss here. You still have Hela in the deck. Might as well get the advantage there. Lady Sif and Infinite goes on down. Here comes the Green Goblin, clogging up the Hotel Inferno a bit more. No scaling piece on top of it. And you can play it safe even with the Cull Obsidian right now. This looks like GingerPrime is exclusively looking for a She-Hulk top deck at this point. Needing that She-Hulk top deck, knowing that Nebula's gonna continue to scale, you've got to put down the clog piece because they could send over something else. You're sitting on nothing. You've got the advantage. She-Hulk's gonna be a 0 next turn. But Drewberry has the potential option even to play Professor X. Professor X could lock down the Quantum Realm, and then it's a 50-50, and there is the card right there, and it is. It's the Professor X. It's a race for the miniaturized lab. As Magneto looks to pull over what? Exactly. It's the Hela time. Oh, I don't know if I would do the She-Hulk, though. The She-Hulk's risky because, remember, you've got 3 cards discarded, one of them being the Infinite. You need that card to come on back, and Hela brings back Death, and the Sif, it doesn't bring back the Infinite. You end up losing 10 extra power out of that lane, but it's not going to matter because here comes that combo, that Tuma into armor one more time, and Drewberry takes down GingerPrime with a huge combo of looking at how Green Goblin, Atuma, and Armor is still a really insane combination deck. That's the game number 1 to get us on started. Stick around, folks. Here are some ads, kind of, sort of, depending on where you're watching. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. We're going into game number 2 for week number 2, and I have decided to move on to the Masternaut versus Deck 20. The Masternaut versus Deck 20. Let's go take a look. Here they are. Bada bing, bada boom. We're gonna hit the play. GG's and good luck. Let's see what they're running. We've got, all right, looks like a discard deck with Leech. Now, how many people are you trying to piss off at once? Because discard is hands down one of the top decks in the game right now. But now let's add in Leech. You are mean. This is violence. This needs a different rating now officially on my YouTube channel. That's just wrong. But let's see how he does it. Let's see how he pilots it. It's got the Colleen Wing in hand, which is going to take out that blade at this point. Could have hit the Leech, but it took out the blade instead. Versus, no, it's a move deck? Yes, I would give that reaction too, because that is a custom inked dagger. Beautiful. And now we're even putting in Great Web as we see a snap come in from deck 20 who's rocking a move deck. Yes, you lose that little ability from dagger, but you've got Great Web, you've got New York. If that's a move deck, you need to do exactly what the Masternaut did, which is run the hell away, to say the least. So great job. Good call there. Good call by the Masternaut. Run, 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 run. Round number 2, Masternaut. Seeing if we get a slightly better start and some better locations, ideally. Asgard can help both players. As Hellfire Club drops on down. So limited in its restriction if they are playing a Human Torch deck on deck 20 side. I don't know, though. I mean, Morbius is always going to feel good. Minus in, like, Isle of Silence. Waiting. Thinking. Contemplating. Going! There it goes. There's the Human Torch. There's a Nico for an extra bonus card on top to get some double movement. Maybe seeing a Doctor Strange into the Hellfire Club or Asgard, because that would be a nice double movement to then also gain the card draw. Debating about Corvus exclusively, or is it worth it for Colleen to hit the... No, they're going to take the Corvus, take the extra energy, go ahead and get a duplicate of that Vulture into the hand. Corvus comes on down, hits the Modok and the Leech. Not really what you're hoping for because you want that APOC. Even though Colleen Wing's going to make you a nice couple of swarms to dupe over. That's probably going to secure Asgard. It'll bring it up to 10 when all is said and done. Unless if we see a movement of that Vulture right now. But we do know they have a copy of it in their hand. Could be setting for maybe a double move over with Heimdall. With that extra little buff that came over to Vulture as well with those +6s, I'm not surprised to see it entering into some competitive play as we get the piece. There's the Doctor Strange we were talking about earlier. Get the 1, slide on over, get the 2, but the 2 cards from Masternaut are going to be probably the most important piece to this. And they hit the Drac. They hit the Drac with an APOC in hand. Now, do you go for the defensive play of just looking at power exclusively, contemplating about where the movement's going to go? Or do you go for the Nick play and try to eliminate one of their power promoters on the board? Because they have 3 right now, Vulture, Dagger, and Human Torch. All 3 are going to be scalable, movable pieces. We do know they even have another Vulture in their hand still. So if they have another Vulture on top of it, they could play that into Hellfire Club and then slide everybody over to the left, with Dagger having no target if they leave the mid free, which is what it looks like they're contemplating keeping as long as possible. There's the Gambit. What does it hit? It hits a Swarm. Doubles up on the protection piece there as it knocks out Dagger in the big house, and 2099 comes on down. We are primed right now. That Dagger elimination is probably the best thing that could have happened because it opens up the mid to be able to be swarmed beyond all belief. Swarms and Drac have got to feel good. You're sitting on Proxima Midnight. You're sitting on an APOC. You might lose as much as 8 power if that Spider-Man 2099 pops off that Morbius. So you're basically playing, if you're the Masternaut, you're playing for mid and left. Sorry, mid and right. And if they pop that down and Dracula hits Proxima Midnight, Proxima now is going to hit the big house because that's going to load up to them 10 power. The lane is clogged. Morbius is going to keep them at that 12 because Masternaut has Prio. So all of these effects are going to go on off. Then you're going to see the Heimdall. It looks like it's going to be, yep, the shimmy over to the left-hand side. Spider-Man 2099 ends up attaching to the Colleen Wing, the weaker of the 2, which is fine. They were trying to play around that either way. 15 now grows into the mid. The APOC goes over the top. Even though it ramps up in the Asgard a bit, the bigger play is the Drac. They stay over the top for 2 cubes, and we move on at 2 down and 1 down going into round number 3. Nice quiet start. As I probably screw up my view here. As I'm going to try to fix the music level in the back end. Hopefully it doesn't mess up the stream. It does not. Good. All right. Phew. Get a little bit more love. A little bit more love. There we go. Ooh, and an early big Project Pegasus. That's got to feel good for Move, probably more than this. We're going to maybe get our first appearance of Leech. I like it. It's a free Leech and a bunch of reduction. Now, deck 20 does have the Prio, so Gambit is on the table. 3 of those 4 hits are nothing but straight gain. If it hits the Gambit, it's not gonna feel good. Sim, eu falo português também, mas é impossível para mim falar português no meio do isso. Here we go. Welcome to the live chat. Ooh, and the 2099 comes down, but because deck 20 has prio, it's not going to go for the kill. They're just going for the power. So nothing dies, but being that it's the first move, even if they move the 2099 after, it still will not kill because it's exclusively on the first move, even if it fails. So we get a snap back from the Master Knot, who's going to try to eliminate out that 2099-10 power piece too. Tough call here. And deck 20 says the same thing and says, you know what? You take this one. This one's worth 1 cube. You enjoy that. It's the early rounds. Take advantage of easy 1 cube retreats. This is a strategy. If you take anything from this match, I want you to embellish on. In high-level competitions, we see 1 cube retreats without having to wait for a snap from your opponent. Playing it through sometimes is just not the smartest option. They take advantage of the first 4 rounds using those 1 cubes. Unless if you're going into a round 4 and you see a snap like this on turn 1, and immediately we're going into a competitive level because both players feel incredibly confident on their opening hands. I would when I have Corvus in my hand every single time, yet alone, Colleen Wing, who's going to get rid of it. Oh, take the reduction. Ooh. And we get the double move of Iron Fist into Kunlun, who gives the 2 and then the other 2. It gets the move bonus first, then the location bonus second. And a Mindscape. As they draw Leech. Oh, no! We may have had a premature snapulation again from both players, because now you've got DC on the board, so Leech could be your best friend. You could Leech them, take it all back, and then play those no ability cards into DC. Don't lose that. There's a lot of cheap on reveals here. It is a viable option and would be a cheeky way to win. And they're going to change your location. Are they going to give the gift of changing Mindscape? It's tempting, I know. Tempting. There's the Morbius, and they go ahead and skip on 4. On this move deck, and they skip on 4. You're going to give them a 6-12 if you do that, and it looks like you're banking on them flipping Mindscape, and they do it. They flip the Mindscape into Lechugia. MODOK does his thing, puts a 6-12 back into his hand, which will stay in his hand. And it doesn't look good. APOC into Kunlun is a loss if it's Heimdall in the left. Heimdall would be registering as 9. Iron Fist sliding into Kunlun would be giving it 4 in total. So you'd be in the loss there. This looks like Master Knot may have no choice but to retreat right now. And he locks it in. He takes his chance and he locks it in, and he's gonna lose by 1 in Kunlun. No! Oh, the Master Knot has not done the location math and loses 4 cubes in the process. Banking on no Heimdall, but of course, Heimdall was in hand. World ship! Oh, baby! This should be an instant snap from Master Not. Instant snap. Single location. Where is it? Kade, where? There it is. Thank you. It's about time. Took you long enough, Master Not. There we go. Look at the play, y'all. I mean, look at that. Where's move gonna go? It ain't gonna move anywhere. Is deck 20 really gonna go in for 4 cubes? Let's think about their tall cards, right? You've got Spider-Man 2099, 9 power. You've got Heimdall, 9 power. What else are they rocking? We haven't seen a Hercules yet. So yeah, Master Not, smart snap, deck 20, take advantage of the last round, and this time locations pay off for Master Not. It is 5-5, dead even in round 6. With a Gamma Lab right off the bat, knowing that Master Not is not playing, at least we have not seen it all, and I'm pretty sure is not playing any form of Shang-Chi, with deck 20 having as many cheap cards in their hand as possible, this is a pretty easy, you better load up the Gamma Lab moment. Sinister London makes it a little bit more dangerous, though. A little bit more dangerous. As they play the guaranteed Nico down, even though Nico has the move to the right, which means you're not playing into the Gamma Lab successfully on the next turn. So maybe you bank on the Sinister London procs? No, just take the Iron Fist. Okay. See how it is? And New York, New York. Now with deck 20 having Prio here, plus Sinister London and Gamma Lab, this needs to be Gambit. To stop the Hulks. Oh man, there's the Human Torch, there's the first one, and now the second one stays in New York, not going to be able to take advantage of it. Here it goes. APOC number 1 pops off, it hits the one in the New York side. Second one pops off, hits the Nico in the left side, so only one is getting flipped over into the Hulk. Only one. We can work with one. We can work with one with a double Drac to boot. Man, Master Not has never wanted a MODOK more than right now on this next top deck. This is tough. I like the double Drac play, but when you're sitting on no cards, it's tough to justify. You're looking at Drac and maybe getting 2 Dracs down, hoping for a little bit of luck, and hoping you get a good top deck. As Vulture now comes on in, you've got 2 Rampers that can go into New York, as you end up with Corvus Glaive and Sinister London simultaneously. This might have been the best possible pull next to MODOK. Dropping the Corvus down to guarantee your hits. Now, the dangerous thing is that Swarm, because it could end up biting them in the ass as we have 2099 get duped on down. There's the first Swarm, which means it's only hitting 1 over on the left. It hits the APOC, which is great. Great, 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 but you need it to hit Leech or Proxima. There's the Proxima gone, and now another Swarm to boot. So now they can play down that Leech, get the power out, and not worry about it as much. Let's see what they pull up on the top end here. It's a Blade. It's the best possible scenario. They've got all of this discard that they can drop on down, removing the Leech from the potential play on being absorbed via Dracula, and they can put even more power on the board too. This is best possible scenario, is having another discard card, and you need those Dracs to go big. Bingo. Look at that. Full board on out. And those APOCs are going to hit left and right, which are going to be for 24 and 28 power. This is for everything right here. This is for 5 cubes. Do both people feel strong enough with this? You've got all the destroy that could come on down for Spider-Man 2099 as well, because New York is just beaming with movement. What moves in and what moves out? Deck 20 is scared, man. Deck 20 is scared because Masternaut's logged in and locked in. There's the movement. Here we go. Vulture and Hulk swing over into the what? Double Goliath out of nowhere, trying to lock down the win as it hits over on the left-hand side, but the double APOC is gonna come in and go, 1, 2, 3, 4 in French, give me every single lane you have, and the Masternaut has taken down Deck 20, even with a surprise Goliath out of nowhere. Wow. Look, Deck 20, great plays, but I know there are a bunch of people in the comments who are going to be exclusively happy that Goliath did not win the big 5-cuber to lock it on in. GG's to the Masternaut. Congratulations for your win. Let's take a quick break here, and we will be right back with game number 3. All right, we are back. And we're going to go right into... Now, there's going to be 2 names I use here, and I apologize. One of them is kinakocat. Now, kinakocat is going also by the name Cold, and that's just a lot easier to say. So, kinakocat, a.k.a. Cold, will be going up against probably one of the best heads of hair in all of Marvel Snap. I think that that's fine that we absolutely bring him in because I'm politely allowed to say that I am envious. It is jjrolk. So let's enjoy Rolk versus Cold going in. GG's 12-card deck. Not a Thanos deck from Cold's side is what we see right off the bat. Oh, man. Let's see. What are they rocking? Man-Thing, Hood, Typhoid Mary, Zabu. So looking at a toxic something or other as they do the emote flexings, apparently. Must show all of the album emotes. Yes, he is the Fabio of Snap. Fabio of Snap. Let's see. We're play down all the Mysterios now with the potential to yeet on top. Armor hits into Muir Island. That's all we know from Cold right now. Could we see another deck with Atuma? That would be amazing. Guaranteeing that Mysterio starts to scale in Muir Island means you can't fire it off. And Los Diablo space might be a huge help here. Might be a huge help here. And seeing that Typhoid Mary, particularly, might be a huge help here if it can nick the Asteroid M. Korg drops in, and they have their own Hood. There's your growth. Los Diablos destroys any further progression in the middle lane. So we have the full Asteroid M slide. Yeah, this looks like it's a Toxic Sarah play here. So we do have some yeet potential, and capitalizing on what we could get out in Los Diablo space, I think is just as important here. They're right now, Rolk is really sitting on needing, keyword, needing that Annihilus. And that's tough to play into. Just play the Typhoid. Here's your 410. Sentry comes to boot. It's an Annihilus on Annihilus matchup is what it looks like in Rolk versus Cold as they pull it on 5. And now it's a race. Now it's a race. The Korg speaks to a Darkhawk package, of course. So straight up Darkhawk. Maybe we could end up seeing then some bounce plays come on down from a Werewolf by Night even. There's a lot working here. A lot working here. Man-Thing would drop down the value exclusively on Hood and Mysterio, and that second Hood, which would be destroyed. There's their own Annihilus. This is everything Rolk was hoping for. Because now they have the ability to fire over everything. And a free Mockingbird to boot. And a free Mockingbird. Cold might be paying for this one, and this is where Rolk has to start playing poker. Do you raise your chips, or do you take what you have? Do you take your 2 as a great starting opening round to go up 10-8? Because you're sitting on pretty much your win condition. Looks like Rolk is mostly concerned about a Galactus. Looking at how he's playing into it. If this is Galactus in the right, though, we have an issue. It's not. There comes all the big pieces. You have your Scar, you have your Demon, you have your Nico Minoru, and it's time to fire back. Annihilus fires over 4 cards to the other side, and watch those colors swing with the Mockingbird. There's your right, there's your left, and there's 2 cubes in your back pocket. Rolk takes an advantage 10-8. Now, Cole knows. If you couldn't figure it out before, we've now got the Annihilus in hand. It is now a prio game. And in this matchup, priority is everything. Priority is everything. Understanding when to throw, when to control, when to take dominance, when to clog, when to not. This is on an Annihilus on Annihilus matchup. It is probably one of the most cerebral matchups you're going to find in Marvel Snap right now, especially in a tournament setting. Both players are looking at some strengths here, though, because we've got Ant Maze to give some bonus and slide buff. And then on top of it, you're also further looking at disabling that Darkhawk from the Isle of Silence right now. So where do you play it out? They did drop the Korg, which is giving a 55% chance to interfere with Rolk's deck throughout the course of the entire game. The downside, though, is that it is a benefit to that Mockingbird, who's taking advantage of all those Mysterios right now, and potentially a Rock to boot. With Debris in hand, this makes it a lot tougher to justify. Because there's almost no world where you get it back. You absorb the Rock. Here comes the Scarlet Witch to disable the mid, opening it back up for Darkhawk and a Titan on top. There's your Rock. Reduce down that Mockingbird again. Now you've got some fire fodder. You've got your Yellow Jacket. You've got your Debris. The downside is you would be locking yourself out of Eternity range in the process. You are sitting on Luke Cage, which is nice. As we come into Nico. Nico's got the 2-card Destroyer, as Man-Thing reduces everything in that lane, but does have that secret Luke Cage that wasn't played in game number 1. Sentry pops into the hand. No Annie yet. And Man-Thing in that armor lane is probably going to be the best friend for Rolk throughout the course of this entire match. Knowing that it can't be destroyed or sent on over if you clog it like he's got it right now, that's going to be a big, crucial play on keeping Prio in your advantage. And he goes for the snap, knowing that it's going to end up clogged if they don't play into Eternity range right now. That's going to bring it down to a -2 and a hidden Mysterio. Cold says it's not worth the trial. Going to back on out. Give Rolk the cube. And yes, they're saying it in the chat. Adam is 100% right. That is a killer stash. jjrolk, 100%. Okay, nice easy start. There's your armor. There's your Zabu. You gotta feel good. You're sitting on Luke Cage even. And a Sacred Timeline plus a Hazmat. This is a very well-rounded deck entry, again for Rolk, as we get a snap on his end. He's got the firepower, he's got the control, the Void also reducing down that Mockingbird, and it's going to do it on turn 3 in particular. Feels great. With an Annie in hand, Cold is going to have a hell of a time trying to keep up right now. It's all a matter of order. When do you get the Mockingbird down cheapest? When do you fire over all of your cards? When do you play your Luke Cage? The top decks are coming in incredibly strong, and they're playing out their Sentry, so you're now definitely playing into a Nihilus racing. It's an Nihilus race right now. You do have to be a little leery about Sacred Timeline. Sacred Timeline does present one challenge in particular, which is the unknown of 2 potential Annihiluses. So playing around that might be probably the safest bet. They do have to scale in the mid, so the Mysterio's a little bit leery. So potentially scaling it now via the Mockingbird is something to keep an eye out for. You could sacrifice the Sacred Timeline by playing out your cards now for a Nihilus to send over the first Void, sacrifice the left, and then clog the right. A couple of different ways to play this one. And they go for the Hazmat early. This is a little dangerous. This is a little dangerous right now because of the order. Darkhawk drops into Atlantis. Here comes the Hazmat, reducing that rock down to -1 in Atlantis. There's a baby on screen. And now you've got your Annie in hand. And Rolk has thrown Prio. That Hazmat's going to end up in a bonus situation because both Hood and Rock are going to fly over, leaving Hazmat, even if Cold sends on over the first rock, all of them will fire back now, leaving Hazmat to a bonus situation at 7 power. Cold has no way, knowing that Prio is thrown again, has to retreat for 2 cubes. This is, so far, a pretty clean sweep for Rolk. JJ, buddy. Showcasing what his Man-Thing can do. As we start with a Hood. Korg to boot. Nice opening for Rolk with that Demon in hand and a Zabu. Now, not going to be able to capitalize on it right away because of Lemuria. Tough call. Do you go for the Demon, play out the power, waiting to pull some rocks? You play Zabu for an end game ramp of using that Man-Thing's power towards the very end. There's a couple of things he can do here. He's looking at the end game rather than turn 3. And says it's not worth it. Give the cube. We talked about it earlier. 4 rounds of just 1 cube a pop. If you don't wanna, you don't gotta. Let 1 cube go. As we go into high stakes, round number 5. Debris, Hazmat, Yellow Jacket in the opening hand, plus Man-Thing, and a Necrotia. All of the negativity right now, and they're not even on Twitter. As they start off with a Hood. Ooh. Nexus has got to feel very good right now. Because both players are playing decks that are not rocking location control. It starts to become a race of who has the Sentry Annihilus first. We get a snap for 4 cubes going into it. And I like this snap because of that flex. Understanding that Nexus is important here. It's a great snap back by Cold. Whether they have the nuts or not, this is a great snap back right here. Rolk says he doesn't have it and backs on out. Time to move on. 7-5 going into round number 6. Annihilus in hand to start. Gotta feel good. And a Gamma Lab. As both players play out into it, Hood and Korg. Pulling a rock now is not the worst thing in the world. There it is. There's your Korg interference rock, and now it's just fodder into the Gamma Lab. Location 3 reveals nowhere. Makes it a little harder. But that ongoing ability from Man-Thing while you sit on Sentry Annihilus is important. He takes the reduction play, sacrifices 1 power off Demon to guarantee a 3rd Hulk. And now sits knowing that his fate rests in the danger room, looking for that 75% chance. Playing into what should be positive RNG, but we all know danger room. When you want it to happen, like a destroy deck, never happens. When you don't want it to happen, always happens. Let's see if that rule holds true to this day. Cold is really stuck on this one. Trying to figure out where to use the next power. They can't play their Sentry into nowhere, obviously. And we get a snap back. Cold thinks he has it. And Rolk doesn't feel good. He backs out. He backs out too. Knocks him off again. It's tied 5-5. Cold with some great snap mechanics. Rolk not willing to risk that opportunity because Gamma Lab is just too scary for him. Just too scary. Oh boy. We go to round 7. Starting in hand with Luke Hazmat. Now praying that Sakar does something nice for you here and keeps Hazmat in the hand. Anybody else feels good. There's your Korg. And it pulls down the Zabu. That's fine. Zabu down. Gotta feel good. Scarlet Witch comes to the party. Flips that into Wakanda. I think that's Scarlet Witch's first appearance. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Tight call as we go into Hell's Kitchen, who's going to prop a rock into the hand, not the Hood. Could have been better. Could have been better. But with no Annihilus, you can't necessarily rock out the rock right now. Looking at like Rock Hazmat, for example, and then fire it over. Instead, just take advantage of your Zabu reduction, play into the big house to do something that your opponent can't do, which is play your 10 into the big house. Super protecting on that Typhoid. And now you hit your Annihilus on turn 4. Now you've got Typhoids ongoing going on the battlefield. You could take that rock and fire over that rock via the Annihilus. And then pick and choose your order battle of which you prefer to use when. Using Annihilus and Luke Cage second as we go for a 4 cube. Putting everybody all in. Prio will be your downfall and your best friend right now as we go in. They're both in. They're locked in. Here we go. Sentry goes over into Wakanda here on turn 4. Plops a rock down as they drop their Sentry too. This keeps the priority in the side of Rolk, which means he may have to throw Prio here. Order is important here. You have to find which is your win lane condition. Ooh. Letting only the hood fire over by putting one card in with the hazmat. Destroying the void. And allowing priority to come back is a very tight call here. There's the hazmat. Now the Luke Cage swings it back. They plop a Cull Obsidian into Wakanda. Rolk ends up with Prio. Those 2 4s in Wakanda mean that Man-Thing can't reduce them. Putting Man-Thing over on your left-hand side then procs a total of 5 and then 2 reductions. You're sitting on Luke Cage, so that's 9 power swing by reducing down Scarlet Witch and Cord. By playing the debris, you're securing Wakanda. It blocks off Hell's Kitchen additionally. They lock it on in. There goes the debris who locks into Hell's Kitchen. We've got 2 cards over in Hell's. It means it's over. The Void and the Hood, they disappear. Nico adds more power with a demon, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because debris comes over the top to take Wakanda, and jjrolk has taken down kinakocat, also known as Cold, here in week number 2. Great matchup on Toxic versus Toxic deck, taking those afflictions and understanding how and when to throw priority. Incredibly important. Great matchup between those two gentlemen, players, friends, enemies, whichever they wish to play as or identify as. Ladies and gentlemen, let's continue on and go into round number 4 after a quick word from these kind people. Welcome back. We are going into game number 4 here for week number 2. You know, no big deal. So let's continue on by going to no big deal. It's no big deal versus Robitussin. Big Chungus is no big deal. Let's continue on with the matches. Let's see what we've got today. Chungus is what we're going to identify them as, and it looks like Squirrel Girl, Mockingbird, and Iron Man to start us on off here. Could be leaning into just a straight up Mockingbird Chaos list. Interesting. Let's see what we've got here. Mysterio could be then spinning probably Patriot. Get those very fast reductions off Mockingbird. Yeah, the Mystique has got to feel good. We've got an immediate snap as Robitussin plays down a Time Stone. Oh, it is a Thanos on, I'm going to guess, Patriot deck. As we put down that free-ass Mockingbird now with all those Mysterio clones. Illusions 2, 3. Ooh, and the Soul Stone can't feel that good. Trying to get that Mockingbird down as fast as possible so you don't lose it. Yeah, just go ahead and play it on out. It's already not Shang-Chi-able. Putting into the Necrotia is going to turn it into a 6. I don't know if that's necessarily the play, but considering you've already locked down basically nothing with the Squirrel Girl, you may have to try to rebuild that way in some kind of power play. As we end up in a Mystique Onslaught Wasp draw via Attilan with a Doom on top of it. No snaps, again, in response, but it's still looking a little hazy for Chungus here. Sitting on that Iron Man, you got to be careful because Mystique is going to get slid over if you don't clog Asteroid M. You are getting the bonus from Mysterio. You know that that's there. Yeah, the slide of Asteroid M doesn't feel good, and Chungus decides to back on out for 2 cubes. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Good read. Take advantage of what you can. 10-8 lead for Robitussin going into round number 2. There's the Patriot. Okay, so full Patriot, Mockingbird, and friends. We see which way they're leaning. I agree with the chat that, yes, this is a very difficult matchup, especially now with Space Throne. And it's an immediate snap as Robitussin knows that this deck relies on as much board space as possible. Lots of littles. Great snap by Robitussin, understanding and identifying the deck very fast, moving it into a situation where you basically have no choice but to retreat and take the free cube out. So takes the lead, 10-7, round 3. Hell's Kitchen draws that Squirrel Girl into hand, and Ravonna ends up in the hand for the first time as well. Sokovia yeets out Hope Summers from Robitussin and Mystique, and we get a snap from Robitussin knowing that Mystique is gone. Aggressive snap from Robitussin here, seeing only the duplicator run away. As Ravonna drops. And Robitussin's got to be sitting on something strong. The worst possible card typically for, location, for Ravonna doesn't have an impact at this current moment, but Wakandan Express can be capitalized on successfully here. Load up every location to 3 on turn 3. This is a very easy to navigate match now for Chungus. It's plain and simple. As Psylocke makes an appearance on turn 3 in a Thanos deck, we are officially on Professor X Watch. Professor X Watch. Warning, warning. And that's what they're debating too. Where are they going to try to steal it? You've got the Jeff. Jeff is already on the board, has not moved yet. And you got to try to secure the location. Instead, we get a Reality Stone into the Great Portal transformation, plopping a Helicarrier into Chungus's hand with a Cull Obsidian to boot. And now you sit on Blue Marvel, basically trying to decide which location is going to be sacrificed. By clogging the mid here, you're officially announcing your top-end power. That lane is now said to be at 20 exclusively, while they have already got 8 down. They don't know what's going on with the Mysterios, but knowing that Patriot's in the deck, it makes it a lot harder. as they're looking for every possible way to beef up those far lanes, looking at what Patriot's going to do into the left lane, because it is going to hit the Mysterio clone. It is going to hit the Wasp. Helicarrier doesn't give it a hell of a lot of promise. What's going to be the most power into Hell's Kitchen? And it is going to be the Dr. Doom at 7 power. It puts out no Doom bots. And instead they put out the Wasp. And I'm not sure exactly why, as Shang-Chi comes on down. Hits that mid. The reveal switches the Mysterio over by 1. And Chungus hangs on and knocks out 4 cubes because of the ongoing from Blue Marvel. By 1. Robitussin's kicking himself right now. As Space Stone gives the draw. Small Baxter Building Prio switch. Leading into a Renslayer while pocketing Iron Man and Mystique. That has got to feel good if you're Chungus. Looking at which way you want to embellish everyone is important here. Where do you need to play out? Is the Mysterio more valuable than Iron Man into Mystique? And we get the snap again. He's clogging the Baxter Building, potentially looking to play around it entirely. Playing this Mysterio on the right-hand side is a slightly scary thought, but we've got Gladiator come on down. He's going to pull out the Onslaught to disappear. Big hit for Gladiator right there. That Onslaught could have been incredibly viable in the Ant-Man lane. But instead, we go into an Iron Man play with some potential rampability too. Ooh, that Soul Stone's perfectly timed in an awful position as it's gonna hit over for the Baxter Building. Destruction in the Danger Room as Psylocke goes to the graveyard and the Mind Stone goes over to the graveyard. And with that ongoing, it can't feel good with that Soul Stone in the mid. You do have the ability to start scaling back and try to balance it out now with the Blue Marvel, which is gonna have to be your play. To try to steal the Baxter Building and hope that you have enough ramp because of the extra embellishments that are going to land via Blue Marvel and Xandar. They drop in everything into Danger Room, which is now the Gamma Lab, also known as an absolutely dead location, as they get a couple of stones and a couple of draws, one reduced via the Time Stone. There's the Mystique flipping the copy of Iron Man into the Xandar lane. That swings Baxter Building, who takes the buff from everybody. And now, you look at the danger of what does Blue Marvel do here if you're Robitussin. Knowing you've lost your advantage because Mockingbird's dropped down and you can't get rid of it. They sacrifice all knowledge for the Baxter Building and say that they've got it in Xandar as Blue Marvel comes over the top and Magneto then swings to pull the Mystique over. As it recalculates by 1 now in the other direction. Robitussin snipes. With the reveal of the Mysterio, it switches back. Whoa! I thought it was done, but the end of game mechanic registers late. I forgot the end of game mechanic registers late and the last Mysterio flipped on over. Wait. We are rewinding that one into a replay to watch that play out one more time. The reveal 1, the reveal 2, and the reveal 3 of playing Mysterio on the right ends up being the saving grace for Chungus. That's what took out 4 cubes off of Robitussin and brought us forward into the high stakes round, because Robitussin's definitely feeling the pressure, having to win 4 in a row against Chungus to try to come back now in high stakes. Sheesh. Reality gives a card to each player by giving a Nova Roma onto the battlefield. Time Stone also pulls a draw for cheaper, while Ravona's down and cheapens the Patriot as we look to try to find a way to go over in Nova Roma. Now, the Symbiote does get the buff from Patriot also. It is looked at as a no ability card, so whatever they plop in there to absorb up is completely fine. Might be able to take advantage of this Mockingbird in that instance. Play down both Mockingbird and Patriot potentially, as Gladiator drops on down, adds a Mystique into the lane, disappears, 8 power to be an easy absorption. As instead they look at the Mockingbird. They look at the Mockingbird as a way to help compensate for the cheap Mysterio over in the left. Cull Obsidian enters into Nidavellir. There's your Mockingbird and Patriot ramping up all 3 lanes respectively. Scree, the symbiotes go with a small bonus as it reinforces the bonus 2 times over. It ate the ongoing ability of that +2 that was being added, and now it's reinvested into a 2 that's gaining another 2 via Patriot. And Chungus is trying to decide between 2 turn 6 stellar plays. Is it more valuable to play out the Squirrel Girl with Onslaught on top of the Patriot, or to hold? Actually, no, they wouldn't even be able to. Ooh, tough call. Tough call now. Do you play out your Doom with your Doom bots, and the Doom bots are going to receive those +2 powers for Patriot? Do you play out your Onslaught plus a Wasp to get you some reinforcement on how much that Wasp and Mysterio clone ends up being in your left-hand lane? Do you play Blue Marvel or Squirrel Girl, or do you lock it all down and say that I'm just going to put down a Wasp as a bonus extra piece on Clintar with the Dr. Doom, which is what they do, as a slide of Patriot moves over from Nidavellir into Clintar? That's enough to keep Clintar in play for Robitussin. The reveals flip over, and it's not enough right now. Chungus has to go another match against Robitussin, as it's now 5-2 in favor of Big Chungus. Round 6 with a Doom in hand to start. Mind Stone on 1 if you're Robitussin has got to feel good. And a Mysterio clone into Los Diablos. Try to get a head start in case if you pull that top deck of a Mockingbird. Be ahead of the curve. As we lean into Space Stone and Reality Stone, removing the Dream Dimension and replacing it with Vibranium Mines might not be the worst thing in the world, as a Sinister London joins the party. Now, if Sinister London can stand on its own and hold off, please not get hit by a Los Diablos. That's the only thing Chungus is hoping on, because then he'll be able to play 2 Iron Men down via Sinister London 2. There's a Hope Summers. Ravonna doesn't get the double Iron Man, as Los Diablos Space takes that Sinister London and destroys it straight through. You still have a 4-0 Iron Man, which is always going to feel good. But with an Onslaught in hand, makes it a lot more precarious, and instead decides to play it over on the right. Could send a mixed signal to robitussin by doing that. As all the extra power between the two Hope Summerses, we're not sure what it would be, plural, makes this a 7 power turn, 7 mana turn for robitussin to work with. And robitussin needs every potential mana they can get right now. You're sitting on that Doom, looking at, is that going to be enough to play into Los Diablos space and have it go over the top? Soulstone comes down, reduces down that Iron Man very heavily. Thanos enters into Los Diablos space as Blue Marble tries to counteract what the Soulstone is doing. And you top deck your Mystique after playing Blue Marvel. Playing out that Doom for that Doombot's going to add 6 into the Iron Man lane. That 6 in the Iron Man lane would turn it to 2 plus 6. That's your 8 times by 2. 16. Onslaught doesn't give the buff you needed to, because even if you play the Wasp into Los Diablos, it's going to add +4 via Ant-Man. And then +2 via the Wasp. Still not enough. There's no more movement, so 16's the number to beat in that lane. The Doom does do it. That adds on the +6, +5. But instead, he sacrifices Los Diablos and is looking to potentially just go super tall in the ruins. And 3 cards drop. There it goes. There's your Cull Obsidian. There's your Mobius. There's your Power Stone. Put it all together as Onslaught reinforces everybody and their sister. And there's the Wasp, who takes advantage of that double Blue Marvel buff. And Big Chungus, no big deal, takes down robitussin. Patriot, ladies and gentlemen, took down Thanos. Not that we're playing favorites or anything. Absolutely fantastic to see. Great matchup between those two. Stick around. Round 5 is right around the corner. All right. Welcome back. We're going into the next game right away. So I think we're going to choose Derek. Now, here's the deal. I'm choosing Derek's because I saw the thumbnail. And I think you'll understand why I had to do it. They're facing zaethebae, which is a great name. But anyone who uses the in-game name Just Ken is going to get cast. Let's go. It's Just Ken versus zaethebae. I'm going to call you Ken, even though you are Derek. Let us go. We're starting off here with a Corvus, Jubilee, and She-Hulk and Giganto. So it looks like we're leaning pretty heavy into a Hela deck. Easy skip, turn 1. There's your Giganto. Luke's Bar, while sitting on Corvus, is also very exciting. And a Krakoa on top could be really fun if you get that She-Hulk to drop onto Krakoa. Take the boost. Yes. Gonna add only the 5, though. Only add the 5. Take the reduction here. Here comes the She-Hulk and the Giganto. Nice big hits. Big hits there. As Ken is hoping for some good reinforcement to come out of that. The draw ends up hitting Vision, a 5/13 Vision, while Krakoa gives a pretty nice piece here. And when you've got the advantage, plus you're sitting on Blade and Jubilee, you've got several different ways to pop into a Hela as zaethebae puts down a Drac for the first moment. And it's Hela Lockjaw gaming. While Blade is going to be able to get a couple of swarms on top of it, all of the potential options to get Hela come on out now through here. They're sitting on 7 cards in their hand right now. Going into the Necrotia game. Here it goes. There's Lockjaw. There's Blade. Putting 2 swarms into the hand on the duplication right now. The Blade goes into the Lockjaw. Spits out Colleen Wing, who hits a swarm again. Puts a couple of swarms onto the battlefield. 1, 2, 3. There's Lady Sif to hit the APOC. Putting 5 also via the Krakoa onto the very next card. Jubilee hits Colleen Wing, which dismisses their Gambit, which destroying-wise is going to be a pretty big play, too, as the Corvus gives an extra power, and they get that Blade back. Now, it's interesting. You end up... Oh, I don't like this. Oh, no, 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 no. You have 2 chances to get that Hela. 2 chances to get that Hela if you switch your Jubilee and your Blade. Oh, they're going to go for it that way. They're just going to take it as is and let everything join into the Luke's bar. There's your Jubilee pulling out 1. Jubilee's going to get tossed back into the Lockjaw. It hits the Magneto, which slides over the Sif into Necrotia. Jubilee disappears, comes out, turns into... There's the Hela loading up the Luke's bar with a swarm, a She-Hulk, a Giganto, and everybody in between. Krakoa is now your competition state. If you are zaethebae, they're sitting on a Collector at 7, plus a Colleen Wing with that Proxima, which will land into the Luke's bar. Dracula eats up for 8, and it's not enough as they all learn a little bit more about each other in round number 1. zaethebae loses 2 cubes. They're just Ken, and they're moving on. 10-8. 10-8. And Starlit Citadel, now recently fixed in comparison with the recent patch. So the sequencing is back to normal, where now the locations will proc left to right. Starlit Citadel will not override any of those locations. Subterranea wouldn't be a concern either way. It just hurts the potential Lockjaw pulling for Ken here. Now, zaethebae should recognize this as a potential concern for Ken on that Lockjaw variation. If they see Lockjaw come on down, it might be worth putting in a snap just for the unknown exclusively. Morbius joins the party with Meek as Colleen Wing decides to get rid of the Vision. X-Mansion comes to play. So some unknowns, but with that Corvus taking 2 hits, it might be worth waiting 1 turn and having it be a 50-50 on the next turn, and that's exactly what they do. Lady Sif gets rid of Helicarrier on zaethebae's side, so now it's completely unknown gaming as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards load into their hands, and X-Mansion puts out a Mr. Fantastic on the side of Ken and puts out a Meek on the side of zaethebae. Ends up with an extra piece as we see a snap come in from zaethebae. Great, great snap. Absolutely would do the same thing. And now you must choose, do you go for the guaranteed power with the She-Hulk right now, or do you take your 50-50 now with Hela? They decide it's not worth the 50-50 chance and back on out for 1 cube. Take advantage of those low stakes while you can. 9-8 in favor of just Ken, also known as Derek. Mindscape really then heavily leans on Corvus getting that Hela out on 5. Little Meek, little Morbius, just a little bit of power, unknown because of the discrepancies of New York, as an Elysium comes down, which heavily helps out Ken here. He goes for the play into New York. Less forecastable, but guarantees it. There you go, Lady Sif. Hitting that helicarrier, popping out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards again. It's Jubilee and Lockjaw. As Hella sits in the hand, waiting to decide what to move. Magneto would be able to slide over the Lady Sif, but is it worth it? Agreed, it's not. Just take the big power. Put down that Gigano on turn 4 for 14 power and potentially move it. Keeping that Infinite in hand will be a pretty solid play additionally, too. Because it'll be unplayable for zaethebae. As we get a snap from Zay. And you're contemplating giving them their Hella. They have 7 cards in hand. If they Modoc and you fire over that Hella, you are going to kick yourself until next Tuesday. Oh, this is dangerous, Ken. You've got zaethebae, who's discarded helicarrier. There's a lot of unknowns. And you're banking on it. They take the Captain America, the Lady Sif, bring them into Elysium, saying, I challenge you over here. They plop out their Titania and Apocalypse and start flipping those cards around. 7 mana. And what do you end up with? MODOK, She-Hulk, Juggernaut. The Cerebro doesn't give any real reinforcement, as Giganto's the only potential recipient. Playing out in Elysium to guarantee the Titania, if it stays there, the fire over back is feeling pretty good. MODOK then would get the Proxima afterwards to drop. It would be 14, 13, 15, which means Proxima would drop mid. It might be worth sliding over Giganto to make Proxima drop on the right. And they say no. They line everybody into the mid. There's the Juggernaut. Clears out that Elysium lane. It's down to New York, New York. 13 allows Proxima to come on in. There's 20 as the magic number, and it's in total not enough as 18 hits the board. Hella comes over the top with the helicarrier, but it's not enough in Elysium. Almost with the comeback play. Almost had the comeback play. If Hella landed in Elysium, that would have been 16. That might have done it. Magneto was a very scary card. Very risky card, but Ken navigated through all of Mattel there. Came out with a couple. Came out with a couple. It is 9-4 in favor of Derek right now. Also known as, you know, that guy who's just Ken. Collector in hand. Brings extra pieces. And New York again! New York. Can't catch a break with all of the unpredictability. Colleen Wing would hit the blade. And the Lady Sif hits the helicarrier. We're back to the unknown. We're back to the unknown. Colleen Wing hits the blade. Currently losing in Hala. So do you go for the chance of going over the top here with Jubilee? Do you go for the Lockjaw in Oscorp to play something safe? They sacrifice Hala as Drax gets played down. And now we end up in a Lockjaw Jubilee scenario. Hoping for the best. Needing some big moment to happen here. They're sitting on that Magneto in hand. If the Magneto in hand feels secure going into the next... Oh, man. This is scary. Jubilee pulls out. Giganto, that's great power for New York, disappears, pops out. Corvus Glaive, who hits the Swarm. And the Infinite. Okay. We have a match. And a top deck Hela. Okay. Huge plays coming in. Huge plays. We've got a rotation available in Lockjaw. We've got a Hela to bring things back. And a Magneto. Ken has a lot of flexibility here depending on what they think is going to move. Take the Hela play, snaps back, and forces a cube out of Zay. Very smart snap. Very smart snap because of the unknown of New York. If they're going to play unpredictability, you need to play into the unpredictability. Take the 1 cube, because whether you're at 4 cubes or you're at 3 cubes, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. However, if Zay lost that, that would have been a 2-cuber. So it would have been the exact same thing. Ken needed to put Zay all the way in there by sitting on 4 cubes. It was using cube equity on the final round of the low stakes to its best advantage, as we see a snap to bring Zay all the way in because it's an Elysium match here. Zay's got to decide if this match is worth their entire week. And they do. There's your Meek, there's your Collector, there's your Blade who tosses out an APOC, goes back into the hand for another 12. Meek has the flexibility to move. As they drop on down, Ken's side hits the Blade, which drops out the Magneto while they still sit in the pocket Hela. Dry turn. Dry turn. Jubilee has its dangers while you sit safely on Hela, knowing you can bring back Magneto. The Raft is a threat, as it will put a free card almost guaranteed into Zay's hand, who they really need to, pump as much as they can to try to keep up right here. Thinking about the different options here. Is it worth it to Lockjaw and then Jubilee into the Lockjaw? Play out your double chances. They just Lockjaw. It's just power. Still favor of Zay. Westworld turns into Hell's Kitchen. You've got discard in your hand, though. You've got the flexibility of that vision. And they're looking at a potential high roll here. Thinking about all the discards that could pop out of the deck. Still feeling good because Blade is also gone. The raft gets loaded by zaethebae, who plays out that Lady Sif, hits the APOC again, ramps up the Morbius another 2, Meek goes up another 1, Collector goes up another 1, Jubilee drops into the raft, who pulls out a Colleen Wing, who hits the lowest, which is going to be the Corvus Glaive, who now disappears into the deck, pops out a Giganto for power to stay over the top, and the flexibility of Meek's movement is now even scarier than it was before. You've got a Magneto coming out from your Hela. You've got a Corvus coming out from your Hela. You could toss Hela now, have both get hit again via the Corvus, and maybe redraw Hela, and instead they drop down the secure play of putting down that She-Hulk into Hell's Kitchen. Sliding over the Meek over into the left-hand side. Here comes the Gambit, who's going to take out the small little blade, and oh no, there's an Odin! That's another one! Odin makes it disappear by knocking out Lockjaw. So your rotation is gone. Being able to toss that swarm in to maybe hit another discard is gone. You're now looking at what is your Magneto pull. Your Magneto can manipulate around Lady Sif and Gambit exclusively on the board. This is for zaethebae's tournament life. Depending on where Magneto lands, we end up in a drop. Looking at Lady Sif maybe dragging that and Gambit over to the Elysium lane, that would clear both Raft and Hell's Kitchen for Ken. Magneto drops on the right-hand side. It's risky, depending on what they put on top of it. There's your Meek moving again. The 24 power APOC drops on down into the center lane. Colleen Wing disappears. That MODOK coming on in. And there's the 1, the 2. The Magneto drops into the APOC lane. It's not enough to take over the raft. It's not enough to take over the raft. Ken just lost 3 cubes. We continue on and go into round number 5. As we get the Ting Raid here live on Twitch of 36 people. Make sure you refresh your stream. Welcome to the Snap Judgments League. I'm Guest. This is recording. I'm live. They're not. Week 2. Continue on. Round 6. Point again. Unnecessarily. Here we go. And just a Meek to start from zaethebae. Fun X Mansion comes in. Dropping down the She-Hulk, that's all we've got. X-Mansion does make it interesting because of the timing now with the Bifrost. You could take advantage of using your Swarm as just a token right now, or drop it down again. They do. X-Mansion gets a Lady Sif added to it, who's Helicarrier, adds God knows what now into zaethebae's hand with 4 more cards. Armor and Corvus Glaive. Talk about a gift from Barbie. Corvus Glaive comes on in, gives a perfect hit with Hela in the hand, and a Jubilee and She-Hulk are what disappear. Best possible Ken draw right there. You better smile on that. You have every possible reason to, Ken. As now, just playing the Lockjaw is a safe play. And you can rotate it out again, too, with Hela on the next turn, because you have the energy lead. Proxima adds into X-Mansion. Everybody does the cha-cha slide. Stark Tower's looking a little bare. But it might not matter in a moment if Hela drops on 5 here. Oh, be careful. Oh, be careful, Ken. I know it's tempting. I know it's tempting. Be careful, Ken. It's tempting to do a second one, but don't. I like the Vision getting 10 here. because you could then move it into the Bifrost and it's protected in case for some reason we've gone 6 rounds and haven't seen a Shang-Chi. I like the floating 10 power here a lot. This is a good move. I am a fan of this. MODOK comes on out. What's it tossing? APOC. Now at 12 in the hand. Luke Cage. Red Skull. Nimrod. Falcon. Gambit. So you're only sitting, if you're Zay, you're only sitting on a 12 power card. You have a draw. Did you top deck your Hela? It would be the most epic of moments if they did. And now Ken has to decide, is it just worth trying to rotate that Hela out for something else or leave Hela on the board? It could pop out a Meek, which would be a downgrade. So the guarantee of 6 might be the potential play here. You have 15 locked into the Bifrost. Playing the Hela and sliding the Vision would give you 21 in that lane, with RNG then needing to play exclusively really into X Mansion. Meek can move via the MODOK discard last game. And we end up in a really tight case here. It's all about, where does Hela go? Do you keep Hela? Do you yeet Hela? They take the Vision and leave it to contest in Stark Tower. Lock it in with the Hela. Here we go. Zay's putting it all in again. Hela drops and there's no play from Zay. It's a timeout situation. They must have gone back and forth. Zay loses by default and getting no cards down. Oh, you hate to see it. Zaethebae going back and forth with their cards. Do I play it here? Do I play it there? What do I play out? And nothing gets played down. Time management is Zaethebae's downfall in a surprise final move. GG's, but you hate to see it. Hate to see Derek, also known as Just Ken, take it down via a timeout. Oh, it happens. It's happened to all of us, no matter where you are, on ladder, in Conquest, and sometimes even here in the Snap Judgment League. Stay right there, folks. We'll be right back. And we are back. We are moving on to SkyZorro versus Gregor here for the next round in Snap Judgments League. Y'all ready? I'm ready. We're going right into it. Here we go. GG's, good luck. Have fun. SkyZorro versus, they're going to call themselves Gregor this time, D. Luffy. So let's go. As we see a Squirrel Girl, Nico, Mockingbird, Dazzler opening hand. So leaning heavy into what might be that Patriot style play again in the world of Mockingbird. And a Nico into Celine. We have not seen a Celine yet in any match here at the Snap Judgments League, so I'm quite okay with that. Gregor rocking some kind of affliction, maybe some goblin, maybe we see some galacticing going on. Let's find out. Here's a couple of squirrels. Go ahead and cheapen down that Mockingbird now that you've been flipped into a demon who also reduces down the Mockingbird. That's gotta feel good. Sokovia tosses out an Annihilus and Shanana. They are gone. as now that Mockingbird, who can't land in Crimson Cosmos, has to sit with a little bit of hope and prayer that some of those big cards can pop in very soon. As Green Goblin fills up the Ant-Man lane, counteracting it just a tad, Goblin reducing down also that Mockingbird. Ooh, it's tight. As they hold Mockingbird here on turn 4, and Gregor backs out. Not seeing a path to victory without their Annihilus in hand, they back away. So this might be a little bit more restricted than we expected from Gregor if they're that heavy on the Annihilus lane. And look, New York is back. As Zorro is rocking a Titania in this matchup as well, which could play interesting with that Green Goblin, as we've seen as a great offensive strategy, yet alone a defensive piece here. Squirrel Girl cheaping down that Mockingbird. Tweet on the street. Wrong copyright, but we make it work. And Kamar Taj, who they probably would have really liked that about one turn earlier with that Squirrel Girl on the board. Now you must debate, where does your control need to be? You need to keep the Prio by playing into Kamar Taj. Try to go for the Clog side of things. We do. You do. There you go. Keep Kamar Taj up. You're up at 12 there. Hope Summers into New York. Now we've got some forecasting and some double cloggage as we're going to throw the Titania over using Shauna. But what does Shauna do here? It could be the downfall of Kamar Taj. Shauna loads in another Titania into New York. As Sentry comes down, throws the void, and one Titania comes, the other Titania comes back. It's a cycle of Titanias in New York. Scary moment here as they look to figure out what they are going to do here on 5. We get a snap from Zorro, who feels very confident that there's no need to play anything into New York, given the cycle of Titanias. Instead goes for the Blue Marvel and Lechugia, which is enough to scare Gregor away for another single cube deduction, moving into round 3 with a lead of 10-8. And a simple Ant-Man to kick us off in the mid versus the Hood. White Palace pops out only a Hope Summers and then sends over a Cull Obsidian. So how can SkyZorro take advantage of this? Number 1, we knew that they didn't open at least with their Sentry or their Annihilus. That's a huge start. Ravona coming in, leaning more into the Goblin plays, which very much so could be the case now that Jotunheim's on the board too. As they look for the simple start, let's get a Hope Summers into the White Palace and go from there. They're doing the same. Take the chance with their rocks. Maybe play the Cull just for big old power here in the White Palace. But we could see Hope Summers also go into Hobgoblin. Take an energy up and send over a goblin. But Jotunheim's very treacherous simultaneously. We get a snap. And a continuation. There's the Cull Obsidian, gets a little piece. There's the Hobgoblin coming into Jotunheim. As now they work on 6. Jotunheim may officially now be a fully foregone conclusion that there's nothing left to do in there. If that's the case, how do you play around the unknown of... it's only round 3. They still could be rocking. If it's a goblin build, rocking Ravona, we still could see Galactus come in. If they're looking at Nico to destroy something, destroy a Titania on top of Hope Summers and get all the mana. Come on, Zorro. No. It takes the wide play for some guaranteed power to go into Jotunheim. Here comes a Shang-Chi to destroy that Cull Obsidian, and it's going to still fill up because Shauna's on the board. Here comes the Demon on top of Hope Summers. Mobius comes in for a little protection. Shauna spreads out some damage. It's Iceman, Meek, and Celine. Celine targets the Nika Minoru on this side. And this is tough. This is a tough move here, because Zorro doesn't really have much to try to keep up with Lechugia. It's gotta be a fire off. It's gotta be, look, 2 cubes belong to you, Gregor. Continue on, 8-8, going into round 4. Welcome, Luke Spar. Hood comes, Hood goes, Demon stays. And a Space Throne, which Dazzler likes to see, but almost no one else. As they clog the Space Throne with Jeff early, the tactic on this is a little leery because I'm not sure if they realize that they still can't play in there now. Jeff doesn't move over. It's a one or the other. And we go for the snap back because of it. Luke Spar is safe against goblins. Ant-Man helps to balance it a bit. There's the Jeff now. As Green Goblin gets stuck. And they keep Space Throne on the side of Zorro for 4 cubes. Reading the Green Goblin play beautifully. Zorro now has to defend Monster Island more than anything else. Shauna's going to come on down and add a card into Luke's bar for some maintenance power. As it's a destroy element added to it, because Shauna's going to put down a card. It's going to be Angel plus a Squirrel Girl to give another piece on the far end. As the 2 cards that now destroy, just giving stacking ammunition. Now this is tough, because you're sitting on Eliath as a potential protective piece. And you look at just reloading your hand twice here. You're going to charge up that Nico. Get the double up, and then they're both going to plop into the hand again. There's no ongoing that'll stay on the board long enough. Your saving grace is now exclusively Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin into Monster Island, although risky, might be the only way that Gregor can come back on this build because of Space Throne. We got a boatload of cards dropping, though. There's Nico up. Nico back. There's Mockingbird up. Mockingbird back. Demon. Hood bounces again. And Hope Summers to Clog. And now, you sit thinking, how is it plausible that they go over the top here? Ant-Man's going to give a +4 if they play Cull Obsidian. And pull the location change out of Nico on the bounce back. So Mockingbird and Nico are going to stay. Gregor has priority, which means bouncing in Luke's bar will maintain, but they could cycle it. They are sitting again on a hood, which will pop in demons and bring the hood back, so hand clogging can still happen. If they put down the Cull, that gives them Monster Island. This is the call. This is for 8 cubes. It goes all the way in. SkyZorro. And the Goliath destroys in Luke's bar, disappears again, and Cull Obsidian comes over the top and knocks out Gregor in a surprise victory for 8 cubes. SkyZorro annihilating Gregor 8-0, ladies and gentlemen. GG's to both our fantastic players. Absolutely fantastic players, but man, looking at that build at the very end with that security by 1, it's just too much to deal with. Just too much to deal with. Hopefully these ads are not, though. Do you know who Dubosss is? You might think it's me in my own channel, but no, it is not. Dubosss is Dubosss. Therefore, we have no choice but to cast his game against NoTreez. Here we go. Let's go on in. It's not an enjoyer, also known as Dubosss, versus NoTreez, who's also known as AMC. So guess what? I have no idea which name I'm gonna say because people don't like consistency. But let's go and see what not an enjoyer can do against AMC. What are we bringing into the decks? We have a Black Knight Sarah build, Sarah plus Zabu. That's a lot of reductions. And a Daily Bugle to get some information out. It's gonna bring an Iron Fist to the party. It's a move deck. Ooh, I love me some juice. Let's go. Play down the Zabu, cheapen that Shang-Chi. Here comes a Kraven. Okay. Okay. And a Monster Island. Clogging up a little bit of space. That's fine. Lady Sif into Infinite. That's easily a snap condition. With Black Knight on the board, it's gotta feel good. There we go. Lady Sif, toss it out. Show me a 20 power Ebony Blade. And Spider-Man slides all the way into Eternity range, clogging that lane up. It is now stackable. 14 is all it'll take to go over the top there, and you've got 3 turns to do it. That has got to feel good. You're sitting on Shang-Chi, you're sitting on Ebony Blade. Protect yourself with a Mobius, then a Sarah on top. I mean, not an enjoyer is definitely enjoying their time right now. Multiple Man goes on down, hits the Silk over into the Kraven lane, ramps it up. And not wanting to instigate that Silk any further than it needs to, plays out to the side. Mobius gets shimmied over into Kraven, who ramps up now because the Silk's going to shimmy over into Eternity range, which is a huge savior for our non-enjoyer because Silk is guaranteed to move out. Look at all of the power that's about to drop on the board here. On the Eternity range, you've got your Ms. Marvel buff successfully. On the Monster Island, you've got your Ms. Marvel buff and removal of their monster. And you're sitting on a 20 power Ebony Blade to put into the mid. AMC did the really, really smart thing without knowing anything about Not an Enjoyer, and says, okay, it's not time to leave yet, because Dubosss has called. 10-8. Popping off with the Jeff to start, Black Knight in hand, opening turn 1, always feels good. No matter what, always feels good. Jeff into DC. Could feel fine. Craven in the mid once again. That is fine. And a Lechugia now with Washington, D.C. does open up the notion of not having it be the worst feeling in the world if you pull a rock. Clogging the mid with the Mobius is probably a safe call, but they have their own. So it's just cost for cost, and it looks like Sarah's going to do absolutely nothing again. Jeff could slide to Lechugia, as we get at least a little bit of a power buff temporarily, as Spider-Man's going to swing that all the way into Lechugia, brings over the Black Knight, which may have actually ended up helping, as Spider-Man gets brought back by their not so significant other, because that's the other storyline. Let's see. If you Lady Sif your Magneto, that's a 412 in your hand. 412 plus Ebony Blade. You could spin that around. Still take advantage of your Ms. Marvel buff even, too. Ooh, that's dangerous. Oh, no. Oh, he caught his mistake. Because it'll hit the Sarah. Lady Sif tosses out the Sarah by doing that. Right ordering. That was almost very scary, and they almost lost their entire piece. You have to blade the Magneto, then a Lady Sif the Sarah. Good ordering. They got it right. Let's slide over that Ms. Marvel, though, into Lechugia. As Blade makes one pop up, pop down. There's your 412. Toss out your Sarah. Pop up, pop down. Now, you lose your Ms. Marvel buff, who's now a dead card. Lady Sif and Mobius hurts. So if you're playing out, the Ebony Blade, where are you trying to protect? Do you go aggressive to go over the top of the arrow lane? With all of this movement, are you thinking that a Doom is going to drop on down? If so, how do you beat over the top of it? Because you've got DC. He decides that that 12 power is not going to be enough. Could manipulate around it, but not for 2 cubes. And instead, sacrifices the 1, keeps a 9-8 lead, continues on, goes into round number 3. Black Knight turn 1 again. That's 3 in a row. And an Altar of Death. They are definitely smiling right now. All of the reaction to be able to build in there. But still have not procced one big card into their hand. Mobius on Mobius, so everybody's back to normal. Now, you could blade the Ms. Marvel and then bring it back in the Altar of Death. Instead, we see Spider-Man shimmy into the middle lane, who drags over the Black Knight. That's one. As a Human Torch makes its first appearance. Now needing to decide, how do we get any power out here? Every big card for Dubosss is still sitting in their deck. They can't do any ramp. They can't do any power. There's not a lot to drop here, as it just legions to legion. And it doesn't feel good for either player right now. We haven't seen the move mechanics. We've just seen some defense and defense and defense. You do have the safety of knowing Ms. Marvel can be used to give a buff into the mid. It could be a quick 1-2 play, even with Blade and Ghost Rider, to get 3 cards down. Nothing's been discarded. Yeah, they have nothing. I agree with this retreat. There's literally no... If there was any kind of big beefy card, that was a hell of a case to be able to work with, but they had awful draws, and it's 8-8 in round 4. Abby's tempting to fight for, but there's not really a need to do so. Playing down the Zabu. Zabu Prio over Jeff. Given the fact that you have Shang-Chi. And you don't know if they're going to draw their Mobius, excuse me. There's your first card draw. And Hulkbuster just attaches onto the Human Torch. Little bonus energy for everyone. Nothing too scary yet. Still 4 to work with. As we get our reinforcement power, here comes the Ghost Spider pulling over that Human Torch into the Tinkerer's Workshop. Now it goes from 5 to 10, and once again, turn 3, Mobius on Mobius. Everybody's favorite, incredibly stimulating combination. Here's another bonus energy via the Tinkerer's Workshop number 2. And again, no big cards in hand. Now, AMC's got to really hope they have a Doctor Strange of some kind to get that Human Torch over there. Mobius is going to shimmy over into the left-hand side once again via Spider-Man, and that chi feels good now. Takes on down the Human Torch. Big ramp element officially removed. Ms. Marvel's buff will apply as Mobius, Zabu, and Blade sit pretty, with 2 cards still to be able to boot on your right-hand side. Silk moves over, hangs out in the Craven lane, and you end up looking at a Lady Sif and Jeff. Is 7 going to be enough? Because you have Prio. They can choose to move that Silk, or you can play everything in the right-hand side for 16 power. And they look at the defensive move. Yeah, interesting call if they keep that over there. They have 13 power right now into the Tinkerer's Workshop if they leave Jeff anywhere else but left, right. They're going to keep the power, potentially. Maybe move over that Silk second. Because Silk, Lady Sif is down first, followed by Silk move second. It's a tight call. They lock it in, though. There's your 16. They play 1 card on the left. What's the big deal in the Abbey? It's an arrow who brings Jeff over and loses the bonus. Arrow left for the win. AMC NoTreez keeps the lead now here over Dubosss. Going into high stakes. Very difficult to read those final turns there for both players. But arrow prio throw is gonna be AMC's probably best friend in this matchup. That turn 4 and 5, being able to throw that prio and then manipulate. If you see a regular Marvel play, game over. As multiple man drops on down, not looking to get that destroy element happening. And Wakandan Express always feels good. Do we have another? Yet again, another. Mobius on Mobius? We do! It's exciting! Ooh, and a nice combo. Black Knight Sif, which leads to a snap even. Feeling good about it going into turn 5. Sarah, again, useless. And there's your discard. Here we go. Black Knight down. Lady Sif tosses out the Magneto, puts in a 12-power Ebony Blade into the hand. Silk followed by Hulkbuster into the multiple man. We haven't seen Ghost Spider yet, so we could see a couple of big multiple men moving around the board. You've got big cards left in the deck too. AMC has the Prio though, who also hits out that Silk via the arrow on the left, who brings over Lady Sif, but Ebony Blade leaves it now as a 29-point lane. The Ghost Rider would bring back Magneto. Or... it's a 50-50 on pulling the Magneto back. With a Jeff on top even, potentially. Magneto would drag Mobius. They look for the Silk knockout. They're gonna go in for 6. He feels good. Putting all of his cubes on the line. Dubosss says it's worth it, and AMC says it's not. Backs out for 4 cubes. The hardest thing to do in Marvel Snap. Wants another chance, gets another chance. 6-4, advantage, not an enjoyer. Woo! I mean, with Black Knight down, you can manipulate around Vormir, which is just as fun as a snap comes from AMC, and you can't run away from that when you're sitting on Infinite Ghost Rider, Lady Sif to toss out, get the Ebony Blade, which you can toss into Vormir and it won't destroy. Oh, it's gotta feel good right now. What is AMC rocking that he feels so confident about? It's the multiple man Hulkbuster adding on. Looks like probably a Ghost Spider, I'd guess. Yes, there it is. Copy's over. That multiple man into the mid, brings the copy into Westworld, disappears that Ghost Spider into the Oblivion, and hangs on. There's still no Mobius. Still no Mobius. But you can't risk not taking advantage of that. And Spider-Man moves over that Lady Sif into the right-hand lane, clogging up Mindscape. Ebony Blade for 20. Doesn't destroy. Vormir's removed. And here comes a stellar Ghost Rider into Blade. Man, this is going to be tough for AMC to come over when he's only being handed exclusively a Sarah. Here comes Arrow to slide over the blade. That does secure one lane. Now we could see a top deck Shang-Chi. But the best play of all is AMC realizing it's over. It's over. Takes the gentleman's route out. And NoTreez goes down to Dubosss with 6 cube advantage there. Nothing in the hand could have taken down those two 20 power behemoths. And it was enough for Dubosss, who, by the way, is not an enjoyer, and gives a win over to them. GG's, Dubosss. You have maintained status officially as Dubosss, just like we have maintained monetization status because of the moments like these. Snap. All right, we're back. We're back again here at the Snap Judgements League. Look, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, and you've been here for the last God knows how long with all of these amazing Snap Judgements League matches, please, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button down below. If you're here on the live stream right now, listening to me live, talk to you, cast these games, as we do typically on Fridays. Typically. Please hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, support the channel. Let's figure out what else we can do here to make the Snap Judgements League the biggest and best cast event here, at least on this channel, if not in all of Marvel Snap. Let's find out what else we can do here, because we have to rock out the boss at some point, right? You know, we might get Pulse in here. We might, but you know, I gotta give respect where respect is due. I gotta go give it to my man who I faced this week in another league. I gotta talk to my man Revis. So let's go see how he does this week here in the Snap Judgements League. It's going to be Revis versus flipratko, also known as Philly. So let's switch on over there now. Here we go. Let's go. All right, Philly. No spoilers. Just in case, Philly, I see you in the chat here with us. This is a two-hand setup cast, ladies and gentlemen. We have a new layout for you. This is both hands from both players at all times. This is a first here for the Snap Judgements League. Let's see how it plays out, how it feels for us. And if you like it, let us know down in the comments. If you want more of these two-match setups, let's see how it feels. Let's see how it casts. Let's do something a little different that we haven't done before. We know Revis is playing into that classic Thanos Chaos line right now, seeing your Professor X, Magneto, and friends. Then, look at Philly on the other side. Going with a high Evo, not a leech build, but still a damn good build of Chaos with armor, Cosmo, and a little bit of defense to boot. Now, the good thing is, if you look at your hands down below, to give you an understanding of what's going on here, you can see it's a division like such, as I draw a line here on the screen. Your right-hand side is Philly's deck. Your left-hand side is Revis's deck. So keep an eye out on the board there as we take a look and see what Blob just ate to shoot all the way up to 30 power. That's a big blob under armor. That is a big blob of under armor as Blob takes on everything and its friends and causes Philly to retreat. Looking at Infinite in the hand, looking at Cyclops for constant reduction. It was tough for Philly constantly to figure out how to go over 30 there. But let's start it on off. Revis opens up with a Cull, Soul, and Time Stone, while Philly decides to rock Cyclops, Cosmo, Armor, Evo. No big power players yet, as Revis already gets the ball rolling with the first Space Stone play. not needing to hold back that time stone anymore to get that draw does feel good nowadays. And revis takes advantage of doing so. Puts out the soul stone into the eternity range, followed by the time stone, which puts a Jeff into the hand. And this was recorded prior to the time stone change, ladies and gentlemen, as District X comes in. All of the unknown now from all of the deck pulls. District X removing some key cards from Revis's play as he looks to maintain with a Drax in District X. If he can maintain and see nothing pop into Bar Sinister all the way through, it's a pretty safe play from there on out. As you see Hood, then Cosmo get dropped down by Feely. We're seeing all of the Jeffs on the one side, and they're going to plop down their demon on another. But Revis has to decide, should they dance around that Hood or play into it? There we go. Put all of the Jeffs down, take the priority lead in Bar Sinister, be able to move over a couple of them. Killmonger comes in, as you see a Agent Coulson, and it's a 3-lane lead with an Eliath in hand for Revis. You see a load of power from Feely via the Hulk. We know they're protecting there, and Feely knows it's the right thing to do. District X or not, it's the right thing to do. Revis. Reality, mind. Psylocke always feels good when you're sitting on Prof X in hand. We get a snap to come on down right away. Feeling good about getting that power out there. Feely doesn't like that opening hand. She-Hulk into Infinite doesn't feel any way, shape, or form good. If you had some fodder to get onto Hope Summers earlier, I could see playing into that. But right now, turn 1 snap against a Thanos deck, you can't feel too good about it. Feely runs away, 1 more cube at a time. It's still low stakes. It was only 3 cubes over 3 rounds. Great management of respecting the snap from Revis. I mean, turn 1 Mind Stone. Long live the old days of a turn 1 Mind Stone being a guarantee snap condition. Just not anymore. Exactly. You've got to respect it, because you sure as hell can't disrespect it. All right. Nice, simple layout. Simple layout. Spread the power wide. You are sitting on Professor X in your hand if you're Revis. Feely, who's sitting on a She-Hulk for some energy cheat on the final turn, could be looking to take advantage of that sunspot bouncing into Hope Summers. Jeff gets grabbed by Revis in a Power Stone. Feely grabs, it looks like Psylocke, grabs all 3, Psylocke, Sunspot, and Misty Knight. The question is where? There we go. Power Stone takes advantage of the +5 from Nita, gives another power over to Hope on the Hope Summers bounce, and you've got a Misty. There's one from Hope. Psylocke, who gives one herself, plus another one on Hope. Sunspot in the Nebula lane while being protected still gives Philly the lead, who has a She-Hulk and an ungodly amount of power on top of it. Even with a full She-Hulk. The opponent's rocking 1, 2, 3, 9 power. Sorry, 8 power on turn 5. 8 mana on turn 5. The Vision Flex movement into Nita. Try to keep a lead here. Remove the bonus of Xandar from everybody. There's your +1. Reality Stone comes down. We have a full send skip from Philly. And that Mobius is just 1 turn too late for Revis. And they top deck Infinite. Philly top decks Infinite. Revis deciding where to play out their power, thinking that the movement of Hope Summers might be enough out of Nidavellir. 2 cards drop from Philly, but we're not sure where yet. We get the movement of Jeff into the mid, knowing that Hope is going to move out. Philly second guessing their placements with an insane top deck. And Revis hits retreat later after the full skip with the threat of Infinite actually existing. Revis decides it's not worth finding out if they actually have it. There's no way Philly backs out of this as well for a double retreat later. When you're sitting on 30 power to drop, they continue on. They take the 2 cubes. 2 cubes off of Revis. 3 cubes off of Philly. 1 cube advantage going into high stakes. Gotta get the ball rolling. Put down the Space Stone, get the card draw, get it moving. Nebula loves getting that play at the same time. Helps to build that Nebula up, so Philly's a little happy. Jotunheim doesn't feel as good, but you make it work nevertheless. Ramp it on up. You go to add some extra power. Still feels good. And a Space Throne locks that lane as we get a snap from Philly, who damn well knows it's in his favor. Instant retreat later from Revis. Knock off 2 cubes. And the energy and the tides have switched. It is now a lead for Philly. 7-6. Revis with the opening hand, Hotel Inferno. What destroys on out? Power Stone hits a Hope Summers. That's a really important piece to Philly's deck now, as the Shang-Chi also disappears from Revis's deck. Big opening hands as a Sanctum drops, and now it's a race to the Jeff. It's a race to the Jeff. It's Jeff or Vision. Get that Vision out as fast as possible. Time Stone draws a Reality Stone in the old configuration. Once again, these games are recorded from last week, so this is pre-patch, where the Time Stone was adjusted. This is old school Time Stoning. As we get a snap, Philly runs like hell. We switch the tides back over the other way. It's 6-5, advantage Revis, who loses that vision capability specifically this turn. Hub gifts a Elsa Bloodstone to the Thanos player, old Elsa Bloodstone singular lane, while Philly is gifted the magical, the one, the only, Agatha Harkness in gift. Will Revis lose 2 cubes to Agatha? As Bloodstone drops and they float the Sunspot. Next up, Castle Blackstone, as Agatha decides to play out the Cosmo. Agatha playing smart right now, loading up Asgard. With a small power advantage now to Revis. We see a Cyclops get dropped on this turn via Agatha. Philly holding on for dear life as a snap comes in. And Philly knows damn well. Look, we believe in Agatha. We just don't believe it's worth 4 cubes. Philly getting the rough end of the hub stick right there. Ugh. Going into round 8, it's 6-3. With 2 games to do this, Revis has 2 chances to knock out Philly in a 6-3 advantage. Even if Revis loses twice in a row, it's worth it to snap on this turn automatically. We see a snap come in as he paces down that Space Stone and bring Philly down to 1 cube. Absolutely smart. Great equity usage right there for Revis. Round 9, high stakes. All the way to the top. Opening draw for Philly is Nebula, Cyclops, and Sunspot. Camp Lehigh gifts a Gambit to Revis, while on Philly's side, the slightly treacherous Gladiator comes down. And a Bar Sinister on top of it. Mind Stone, Time Stone potential even for Bar Sinister. I mean, that Gambit could be wild if it's able to be dropped in Bar Sinister. Time it out. And they go for the full Jeff load. No, they back out of the full Jeff load, not looking at all of the potential there. Saying that it's not worth it. Let me just get my mana going into the next turn. They're banking on that Professor X, knowing that there isn't going to be a play in turn 3, normally in a Bar Sinister. Plays strong on it, and now that Time Stone in the old version shows a big scary threat on what turn 5 could potentially do. You could lock it down with the Bar Sinister, introduce that idea to Philly of actually playing into Bar Sinister on this turn. Revis has Prio, so no cards are going to dupe if they did do that, which is what Philly's probably navigating at the moment. All of the visions mean that could have been a lock, but instead you end up with 24 floating power over the next 2 turns for Revis, and Philly's really backed up into a corner as Misty, Sunspot, Psylocke all drop in, even with sitting on a Hulk. Where do you move your visions if you're Revis? You drag them right and reload now? Lock it down with Professor X, drag over only 1? Ooh, goes for the double 16er. Into Monster Metropolis, steal the bonus off of those 2 drops. And Professor X the lane to lock. No? Second time through. Look at a single lane lock in the mid. And goes for the full send skip, and it pays off. Full send skip pays off. Secures Bar Sinister. As he now sits with 4 floating cards. A Gambit in hand. And Philly's trying to decide how they're going to top the end of this here. No She-Hulk. No Infinite. Last cube. The solemn music is playing. This looks like it could be it. Nebula's gonna go up. It doesn't matter. All of the slides pay off into Camp Lehigh. Gambit makes his final appearance. Destroys the sunspot on the right. Power on power on power. Remove the bonus. Here's a Nor Dimension. You have a Hulk. They have a Sinister and a Camp Lehigh. And Revis takes down Philly in a back and forth matchup. GG's to both players. GG's, my friends. GG's. Man. GG's. Look. If this doesn't convince you, this type of gameplay, this caliber of gameplay does not convince you that Marvel Snap needs this competitive scene, I don't know what to tell you at this point. Because guess what? You've either been watching the stream for 4 hours or watching this video for 4 hours. Well, I appreciate every bit of you, and we'll be right back. Boom. All right. Number 10. Number 10 on the day. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of fun, though, as we are going to round it out here with TheKiD. Literally, just TheKiD. TheKiD. Versus Grizz. Let's go. Let's frame it on out. Let's give a little zoom in to our friends here. There we go. TheKiD is TheKiD. And Morg is Grizz. So here we go. GG's. GG's. Good luck, Kid. Good luck, Morg. Let's see what happens. A Quinjet on Morg's side, as I mean, look at Kid's hand. Multiple man, Phoenix Force. It's a full-on Phoenix Force deck. Quinjet scares me that this could be very heavily favoring TheKiD if it's Phoenix Force into maybe Loki. If it's a Quinjet. Ooh. Mildly scary, but appropriately scary. A Taskmaster. Yet, no Shuri, no Destroy card. Just some embellishments right now. Trying to think how Starlit Citadel is going to move around, how it's going to affect the play here. As they drop a Coulson, pretty sure this is going to be a Loki build then. And Deadpool backup plan on the Phoenix Force deck. No Destroy elements, just everything else. As Morg comes in with a snap and TheKiD has to retreat. On a deck that relies so heavily on that ramp, that ability to build via Destroy, it absolutely had to happen. Good call. 1 cube. Back on out. Moving forward. Round 2. Now, in a deck that has so many littles in it, The raft has got to feel like it's a competitive necessity. Yeah, they ramp on in that. They go ahead and add the plus, put the Ghost Spider back into their hand via a copy. They can destroy it all in that right now with Ghost Spider into Carnage 2, plus get the Raft card. And then Phoenix Force, one of those on top of it. That has to feel good. It's not the card you might want it to be, but ooh, that Zola is scary and tempting simultaneously. Yeah, I know, Phoenix. What do you bring back? And again, this is these are recorded from last week. That's why you see Subterranea still adding in 5 rocks. As we have a swingable, floatable Ghost Spider as Loki makes her first appearance of the day. Here on turn 4. Now, difficult call here what to do. When sitting on that Zola, you want to take advantage of it. And you may be able to, via the miniaturized lab, reinforcing that multiple man and then passing around a whole bunch of Ghost Spiders via Arnim Zola and Doctor Strange after. Actually, no, not Doctor Strange after, because that'll only move the Zola. This could be a really cheeky, fun win here. Forge gives the reinforcement over to multiple man, now sitting at 5. Floatable Ghost Spider. Ooh, as they land the Hulkbuster onto Human Torch, who then slides over, going from 7 to 14 now. Ooh, man. And what do you do? What do you do? Remember, the multiple man was the last card played. They're looking at deferring out Venom at 10 power into the other 2 lanes. That would put 18 in the raft and put 17 in the miniaturized lab. I don't know if that's going to be enough. We see something like a Devil Dino drop as a top deck. We may have an issue here. And they load the mid. Taskmaster copies the Phoenix Force for 5. Mirage adds on another 2. And here they fly over with just enough. There's your Venom. Eats up that Carnage with that amazing Zola raft pull to give you 18 in the mid. It's enough. It's worth 2 and a rock just to say I had a little fun today. 2 down, 9-8 lead for the kid. Ooh, and a couple of Shadowlands here. Tight call on what to do with Nico, because on the one end, you're always banking on maybe getting that move play, maybe getting that destroy play. Instead, they're going to take the double up safety. Allow Nico to go to 4. Deadpool stays in the hand. I mean, stays on the board as 1. Goes to 4. And a Nexus. Now, we don't know fully yet if Morg is running any other kind of location control outside of Snow Guard. But remember, those Snow Guard pieces are not going to permanently disable Nexus unless if we had Limbo come to be at some point too. It looks like because of Venom and Deadpool, they're going to be able to bring back Phoenix Force exclusively as a Nico, which will double up. That'll bring that Phoenix Force to 8. Sorry, to 9, and then double up, so to 18 because of the activation. So an 18 power Nico Minoru looks like it's on the pace here to join the game. Neither player in the first 3 turns playing into Nexus at all yet. Ooh. Figure out your ordering. Where do you want to build, how, and when? Do you need the power of bringing the Venom over at the cost of Doctor Strange? Play the low power of reinforcing Deadpool, wait on the Phoenix Force? Ooh. We get a snap from Morg, also known as Grizz. Gotta feel confident going into turn 4. Mobius down, Quinjet down. This could be just a straight up Loki for everything super cheap. It's a Cull Obsidian over in Shadowland. I hate to say, it looks like Grizz is setting up for a potential accidental loss here. If they're loading up Shadowland and not getting cards into the Nexus on turn 4, they might think that the Snow Guard Hawk will disable Nexus permanently. They're worried about Shang-Chi, as they well should, holding back that Phoenix Force for as long as possible. Especially when there's nothing they can do otherwise. There's no protection in the Kid's deck. And he goes for the Phoenix Force into the Pet Mansion. Omega Red comes down into the Shadowland. Gives a small something to Nexus. Priority is on Morg's side. There's your big ol' now 11, now to 22, Nico Minoru. And we get the snap back for 8 cubes from the Kid. We get the snap back for 8 cubes from the Kid, but Morg has prio. Remember how movement goes when it comes to registered power. All of the cards are being loaded into the Nexus. Morg, with his tournament at stake for week 2, does he feel confident enough to stay in on this movement knowing there's a floating 22 power card? There's no way. There's no way Morg stays. Oh my God, he stayed. He stayed. He plays the Hawk. He makes the mistake. He makes the mistake. Shang-Chi comes on down for 6 power in total. Hulkbuster hits nothing. Multiple Man comes over. Doctor Strange is gonna swing that Venom into the empty space. And watch it come all back with the Nexus. Snow Guard for the loss as the Kid takes the win. Snow Guard only lasts if there's another turn after. Morg Grizz has learned this the hard way via 8 cubes in the Snap Judgements League Week 2. Y'all, that never feels good. Never feels good. But you know what? We all gotta learn sometime. GG's to all of the games, all of our participants in the Snap Judgements League. Week 3 is already in progress as we speak. And if all goes according to plan, we're going to be casting that game also here on Friday. That will be, what does Friday end up being? Today is the, I don't even know. It's all a blur. I'm going to assume that's the 18, 19, 20, 21, to the 22nd of March. There we go. It's all a blur this month. Listen, I appreciate y'all. When it comes to this week's matches, last week we did 6. This week we did 10. I'm not going to make any promises about week 3, but I try to do as many games as I can. If you didn't see your game here, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you communicate to me as much as you can that you would like your game cast. If I didn't get to cast your game this week, one of two things. Number 1, we just either ran out of time. Or number 2, you might have also been cast over by Pulse Glazer. So keep an eye out for that if they did also potentially cast your game over there. If they did, you never know what Savage Yeti and Pulse are going to bring out on their YouTube channel. Make sure you give them a like and subscribe just as equally. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to conclude it for week 2. If you're here for the live stream, stick around. We're not going anywhere. But in regards to this YouTube video, this is that final reminder. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. Let us know what you want to see in competitive Marvel Snap. And I appreciate every single follow that has come from this video. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you real soon.